US President Donald Trump to force Putin to end the war along the current front lines. At the same time, Trump urged President Zelenskyy to surrender Donbas to Russia. Meanwhile, the UK is preparing a 20-point plan to end the war in Ukraine. How did the meeting between Trump and Zelenskyy go, and why did Putin persuade Trump not to send Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine? US President Donald Trump urged Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to accept Vladimir Putin's terms to end the war or risk destruction at the hands of Moscow, according to Financial Times. In a tense White House meeting on October 17th, Trump pressed Zelenskyy to agree to a ceasefire deal proposed by Putin. The proposal would require Ukraine to surrender all of the Donbas region to Russia in exchange for minor concessions in southern Ukraine. Trump warned that failure to comply would result in Ukraine being destroyed, Financial Times reports. The meeting, which included senior officials from both sides, quickly devolved into a heated argument, with shouting on both sides. According to Financial Times, Trump frequently interrupted Zelenskyy, dismissed Ukrainian battlefield maps, and repeated several of Putin's talking points from a call the day before. President Zelenskyy, who has refused to cede Ukrainian territory, reportedly pushed back strongly, calling the Russian offer a vac and emphasizing that Ukrainian citizens would not support surrendering any more land. Zelenskyy also made a renewed request for long-range US Tomahawk missiles, which was denied during the meeting. Financial Times reports that while Trump demanded full withdrawal from the Donbas, he later publicly floated the idea of freezing the war where they are, referring to current front lines. Zelenskyy responded to that suggestion by calling it important point, suggesting a possible shift toward a more pragmatic stance to freeze current battle lines. European leaders briefed on the meeting expressed alarm over Trump's tone and his alignment with Russian demands. One diplomat told Financial Times that Trump repeated Putin's proposals. Another said that Ukrainian side left the meeting feeling very negative about future US support. The proposal floated by Putin and convened by Trump repeatedly involved Ukraine surrendering the remaining parts of Donbas as still under Ukrainian control, in return for minimal pullbacks by Russian side in such regions like Kherson and Zaporizhia. Financial Times reports highlight growing concerns that Trump may push for a peace deal that favors Moscow. Trump has publicly said the war must end quickly and the US should stop funding endless foreign wars. Critics argue such strategy risks legitimizing Russian aggression and weakening long-standing US alliances in Europe. Meanwhile, it seems like Putin's call with Trump has changed the US position on Ukraine and has prevented Trump from providing Ukraine with Tomahawk missiles. Vladimir Putin demanded that Ukraine cede full control of the Donetsk region during a call with President Trump, according to the Washington Post. In the call, which took place shortly before a high-stakes meeting between Trump and President Zelenskyy, Vladimir Putin outlined a proposal that would see Ukraine hand over Donetsk in return for Russia agreeing to give back limited territory in Zaporizhia and Kherson. The Post described a demand as a key condition for ending the war. The demand represents a significant escalation, signaling that Putin is not backing down from earlier territorial ambitions, despite months of battlefield stalemates. Parts of Donetsk have been under partial Russian control since 2014, but Ukraine has maintained a foothold in key areas, making the region a frontline stronghold. While Trump has not publicly endorsed the Kremlin's position, Washington Post reports that he did not reject the proposal either. After he met with Zelenskyy, Trump issued a statement on social media calling for immediate end to the war. Quote, "It is time to stop the killing and make a deal. Enough blood has been shed. They also should stop where they are. Let both claim victory, let history decide." Comment also suggests Trump is open to freezing the conflict along existing front lines, a stance that could, in practice, reward Russia with territory its size by force. However, Trump did not mention Donetsk. Zelenskyy entered the Washington meeting seeking long-range missiles, including Tomahawks. According to the Post, that request was denied, and Ukrainian leader also pushed back against any suggestion of ceding more territory, reiterating Kyiv's demand for full sovereignty over its internationally recognized borders. The meeting followed weeks of diplomatic maneuvering, including previous discussions between Trump and Putin. The Post reports that a follow-up meeting between Trump and Putin is being planned in Hungary, where further negotiations could take place. Analysts noted that while Putin's demands appear slightly reduced from his position in August, when he sought control over additional regions, the core objective remains unchanged: force Ukraine to give up strategically vital land in the east. Russia currently occupies about 20% of Ukrainian territory and have front lines stagnated for months. With winter approaching, both sides are expected to intensify strikes on critical infrastructure. Ukrainian officials are now focusing efforts on obtaining long-range security guarantees from Western allies, particularly the US and EU. The Washington Post notes that while Putin's demand for the next session is being floated privately, it may soon become a public test of Western unity over Ukraine and a signal of how far Trump might go in reshaping US policy. However, in remarks based by the press, Trump urged both Ukraine and Russia to cease hostilities at the current battle lines. Meanwhile, UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer has announced plans to collaborate with the US on developing a plan to end the war in Ukraine, signaling a shift toward diplomatic efforts to bring a conflict to a close. Starmer revealed that Ukraine friends are working directly with Ukraine to craft a proposal that would eventually be presented to Washington. This plan aims to secure a ceasefire and lay the groundwork for lasting security guarantees in Europe. Central to the strategy is the idea of coalition of the willing, an alliance of countries committed to upholding any peace agreement and further deterring aggression. Prime Minister also stressed the importance of combining continued military aid with robust diplomatic pressure and sanctions against Russia. Starmer has publicly expressed strong support for Trump's peace plan initiative aimed at resolving the Gaza conflict. While Starmer advocates for swift implementation of this plan, there is no clear evidence that UK's Ukraine peace proposal will be directly modeled on Trump's Gaza network. Multiple media outlets confirmed Starmer's call for a coordinated international approach, but stopped short of describing the Ukraine plan as a direct adaptation of the Gaza 20-point plan. Details about the precise content of the plan remains largely under wraps. As Starmer prepares to engage further with US leaders, including President Trump, his administration appears focused on balancing military support with diplomatic initiatives to bring about to an end the war in Ukraine. Meanwhile, the European Union is ramping up economic pressure on Russia with its 19th round of sanctions amid the ongoing war in Ukraine. This new package targets key sectors including energy, finance and maritime operations, aiming to squeeze Moscow's revenue stream and weaken its ability to sustain the war. EU plans to phase out all imports of Russian liquefied natural gas by January 1st, 2026. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen declared, quote, "It's time to turn off the tap," signaling the bloc's determination to cut off Russia's fossil fuel income. Sanctions expand to block transactions and freeze assets of major Russian oil companies. EU is also targeting third country entities, including firms in China that help process or trade Russian oil, aiming to choke off Moscow's financial lifelines. A new maritime declaration would empower EU countries to inspect Russia's so-called shadow fleet of tankers suspected of evading sanctions, bolstering efforts to block illegal oil shipments. Political hurdles appear to be clearing, with Austria dropping its illiberal position previously tied to demands for compensation over Russian penalties. The wave EU approval expected soon. Von der Leyen emphasized, quote, "Russia's war economy is sustained by revenues from fossil fuels. We want to cut these revenues." EU Foreign Policy Chief Kaja Kallas underscored the importance of secondary sanctions to stop other countries from restrictions. As this latest package moves toward finalization, the international community will be watching closely to see if these measures can truly tighten the screws of Russia's war capabilities. That's all for today. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and glory to Ukraine.